with the rotation finally being here in the Pokemon trading card game, the card that I really was excited about was Salazzle Ex, 260 hit point fire type Pokemon, allowing some pretty unique deck building and a pretty fun playstyle in my opinion. This was a really fun deck to kind of put together, and I actually think it has some competitive potential. Let's get to the deck list. Already at that deck list, starting us off with the star of the show, Salazzle Ex, 260 hit point fire type Pokemon, one of the new cards out of the Perfect Order set. Its first attack for that 1 fire energy nasty plot says stretch your deck for up to 2 cards and put them into your hand and then shuffle your deck. Pretty solid way to kind of just help you set up, find some key pieces that you might need for the next turn. But the attack I really was excited about and really wanted to focus on for this deck was its second attack for 2 fire energy, Dire Nails, for 100 damage, and then it also will make your opponent's active Pokemon burned and poisoned, and then you get to switch that Salazzle EX with one of your benched Pokemon. So the deck I put together is kind of a hit and run style. So the idea is that we're gonna hit the active with that 100 damage, get it burned and poisoned, and then be able to switch into either Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon EX with the ability Cornerstone Stance. It's going to prevent all damage from attacks onto this Pokemon by your opponent's Pokemon that have an ability. The other thing we can switch into is going to be that Pecharunt with the ability Toxic Subjugation. As long as Pokemon's in the active spot, you put 5 more damage counters on your opponent's poisoned Pokemon during Pokemon checkups. So 100 damage plus the burn plus the poison go into either a wall with that Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon or into a damage amplifying Pokemon like Pecharunt to get more poison damage off. Now, some supporting Pokemon we have around this package is going to be a 2-1 lineup of the Numel and Mega Camerupt, just for some extra damage, another big bulky attacker that we can have, and also its first attack being that Roasting Heat for 80 plus. If your opponent's active Pokemon is burned, this attack does 160 more damage. So the way we're getting the Pokemon burned is going to be Volcanion EX, Scalding Steam. Once during your turn, this Pokemon's in the active spot, you can make your opponent's active Pokemon burned. So being able to kind of burn our opponent's active Pokemon, then punch really hard with that Roasting Heat attack is pretty solid. We're also playing 2 copies of that Mega Kangaskhan EX, mostly for either tanking a hit or its ability Run Errand. We do need a draw engine in this deck, and Mega Kangaskhan just fit the bill perfectly. Once during your turn, if Pokemon's in the active spot, you can use this ability and draw 2 cards. Now, we're also playing 1 copy of Pheasantipity EX for Flip the Script, but the other thing we really need in this deck is that Latias EX with your basic Pokemon getting free retreat, allowing us to be able to get out of the Pecharunt or the Mega Kangaskhan or the Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon, Volcanion, and things like that, to be able to set up with the Mega Camerupt either next turn or that Salazzle EX for another Dire Nails hit and run attack. Now, for the supporter count here, we're going to have 3 Lily's Determinations, 2 copies of Boss, 2 Brock Scouting, 2 Hilda, 1 copy of Judge, and 1 Surfer. For the item count, I got 3 Buddy Buddy Poffin, 3 Ultra Ball, 2 Switch, 2 Night Stretcher, 2 Energy Search, 2 Pokegear, and 1 copy of Blowtorch. And then for our A-Spec of choice, we have that Precious Trolley. This deck is very setup dependent, and I felt Precious Trolley just kind of gave it the most consistency. However, there are a couple other things you could play in this deck. I think Hero's Cape could be kind of fun. I also think Prime Catcher could be good. I think Legacy Energy is kind of mediocre in this deck, but if you wanted the ability to be able to attack with your Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon, then Legacy Energy is the way you want to go for that. Now, we're also going to be playing 2 copies of the Air Balloon to make our retreat costs a little easier on things like Salazzle EX and the Mega Camerupt, because they don't get free retreat from the Latias, so we need to be able to retreat out of the Salazzle or the Mega Camerupt, so Air Balloon helps with that. 2 copies of that Air Zero Endedeps to get a bigger board so we can kind of get more pieces going, get 2 Cornerstones going, 2 Pecharunts, or whatever we may need for that hit and run package to kind of keep on rolling. 1 copy of Perilous Jungle for extra damage. During your Pokemon checkup, put 2 more damage counters on each poisoned non-dark type Pokemon. So just an extra little buff for damage there into some of the bigger Pokemon in the meta. And then also 10 copies of Fire Energy. Let's get to that gameplay. We're going to have 2 different games here with the Salazzle deck. This first game is a little bit of a different list than the one I showed in the deck list review. However, since kind of recording this game, I made a couple tweaks as things kind of progress. But I feel like the list I have now is definitely a pretty refined list, or can be kind of changed up during, you know, different things and such. But starting off with this game, we're gonna have Mega Camerupt Ex in the active spot, which is pretty solid. We're gonna be able to get some draw engine going with that run errand. I feel like with this deck also, you really want to go first. You have a lot of Pokemon you need to evolve. Mostly that's Salazzle Ex. You want to be able to you want to go first so you can attach for turn to a Salandit, and then the next turn attach again, evolve into Salazzle, get all your stuff going, and just start hitting and running. So our opponent looks like they're on some sort of Toxtricity type deck, probably Toxtricity Sharpedo. Been seeing that around since rotation hit on TCG Live. But starting us off here, we're gonna get a Numel into play, and then we're gonna Ultra Ball, and I'm like, all right, what do I need? We're gonna get Latias, because I need that free retreat. I also could attach an energy here. I already used my run errand. We're gonna attach an air balloon to the Numel because I'm gonna evolve it into a Camerupt eventually. We're gonna lose Determination first. We're gonna get our Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon Ex, Buddy Poffin for double Salandit here, attach an energy to the Salandit, and then we are gonna be able to retreat out of that Mega Kangaskhan into the Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon, just in case if they were able to pull off maybe a Crispin Adrenabrain or something like that. It's only gonna get confused and not take any damage. Don't want any extra damage on our side that we could just give our opponent for free, so play around to your outs. Our opponent gonna lose Determination, get that Buddy Poffin, just rolling here, Carvanha and Toxel, another Carvanha. So definitely that Toxtricity Mega Sharpedo deck, which is probably an interesting matchup for this deck actually, as we're really trying to punish our opponent for not playing dark type Pokemon and punish them for having abilities in play, but that deck doesn't really have any of those. Sure, Monkey Dory and Toxtricity have them, but that's kind of it really. So we're gonna really need to just turbo quickly, start getting some knockouts as fast as we can, and really start punishing our opponent. Our opponent here gonna Sinister Surge, I believe it's called, gonna be able to get a Dark Energy out of the deck, attach it to one of your benched Dark type Pokemon, and then it puts 2 damage counters on that. That card was tons of fun to play with in the pre-release, by the way. If you didn't get a chance to, I'm really sorry. It was tons of fun. We're gonna evolve our Salandit into Salazzle Ex, attach the Fire Energy, retreat. We're gonna go into the Mega Kangaskhan here first because we have Switch in hand, run errand for 2, Brock Scouting, gonna grab ourselves probably another Salazzle EX, evolve that Salandit into a Salazzle, switch out of the Mega Kangaskhan into the Salazzle, Dire Nails, punch for 100, get the burn and the poison, go into the Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon, and take the knockout, 130 damage, and they're not able to use Pheasantipity EX on top of that. I'm a happy man. That is a good feeling. Knockout plus no Pheasantipity is where you want to be. Our opponent gonna promote that Toxtricity here, but it has 20 damage counters on it already. So our Salazzle should be able to just take the knockout unless they move the damage counters off with Monkey Dory. Then we're in a little bit of a more interesting situation. We needed to find Pecharunt if that's the case, so we can just kind of get that little extra damage, or Perilous Jungle wouldn't work because it's a dark type Pokemon, so you would need the Pecharunt for that for sure. Pokebad for our opponent. Now, that is a card I had originally had in this list for this Salazzle deck, but it just didn't feel necessary. You kind of, once you get set up, you're just really searching for evolution Pokemon, but they're all EX Pokemon. You're not really searching for anything that's not an EX. You're searching for either Mega Camerupt or Salazzle after you evolve anything. And at that point, most of the stuff you can grab is off of Buddy Poffin. You need the Salandits in the deck, and our opponent is going to concede. They're just not really being able to piece anything together for our opponent. Being able to apply that early pressure with Salazzle was pretty good. Let's get to game 2. Already here at game 2, we are going to be going first, which I said, I feel like that's where you want to be. You want to attach an energy to the Salandit. You want to be able to evolve it the next turn. That's where you want to be. Mega Kangaskhan to start, which is going to be pretty huge, and it's looking like our opponent might be on some sort of Lucario Hariyama deck, or maybe even the new Mega Zygarde. I feel like that deck is actually pretty solid to start off with. And we're going to get the Salandit to the bench, and we're going to start off our turn with that Precious Trolley here. Get the Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon, get the Latias, get the Numel, and the Volcanion is kind of what we're eyeing up just to get all the pieces here. Attach the energy to the Salandit, run errand for 2, get an Ultra Ball, which is going to be huge. So we're going to Ultra Ball this turn. I'm actually just going to do it right now, and I'm going to find that Salazzle. And the reason I do that is I'm not really worried about my opponent playing Hand Disruption. Iono has rotated, so the worst thing they can do is just play Judge. But if they do that, I have a draw engine, I have more Ultra Balls, we're playing 3 copies of the Salazzle. We're going to be good to go. We're going to retreat out of the Mega Kangaskhan into the Volcanion, use that Scalding Steam, get just 20 damage in for free. Our opponent going to get a Binacle in play, Pokepad, find the Lunatone, get the Lunatone? Can they get the Soul Rock? Already have it. It's in late. So now our opponent Lunar Cycle, draw 2 cards. I'm gonna Air Balloon here. Gonna be able to free retreat out of the Soul Rock if they need to. Lose Determination, but Air Zero coming in play, which is good for us because that Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon Ex gonna be able to boost and just get some extra bench space going. Cosmic Beam for 70 damage into the Volcanion though. Evolve into our Salazzle, be able to attach an energy to the Salazzle EX. Pokegear. We could grab Judge, and I actually was thinking about it, but I was like, I need more cards. We're gonna lose Determination, especially because we're taking a knockout this turn. I want to get as many cards as possible. So Salandit coming down, Buddy Buddy Poffin, get another Salandit, and now I'm like, all right, Scalding Steam, we don't need really to do it, but I wanted to do it preemptively because I want to run errand, get 2 extra cards, get the Numel in play potentially, but I actually just hold off on it. We don't really need it right now. So Dire Nails for 100 damage, get the poison and the burn. We're gonna toss the Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon back into the active for that wall-like strategy. The reason I didn't bench the Numel is I was kind of hunting for Pecharunt a little bit. If I can find Pecharunt, we can actually get some quicker knockouts on things like that Lunatone or even the Barbarnacle once they evolve that, depending on how much HP that has. Because we are capped with the Salazzle at 130, just kind of flat. So we'll have to see. Mega Zygarde EX is what they're got going on. That Gaija wave for 200 is kind of insane. And then its other attack being able to get 150 just all over the place is definitely in a world of hurting for sure. Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon in play. Another Mega Zygarde, Pokepad, get the Barbarnacle. Gonna be able to just start throwing some fighting energies in play, but they're gonna pass turn to us. We are gonna be able to do quite a bit this turn actually. So on this turn, we're gonna be able to evolve the Salandit into the Salazzle. We're gonna be able to attach another fire energy to the Salazzle EX, get an Air Balloon. We're gonna attach it to that Salazzle that already got energies on it, and I'm gonna retreat. And now we're just gonna Dire Nails for 100. It's gonna go into a 130. It's gonna get knocked out, go back into the Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon, which is exactly where we want to be. Burn is gonna stay on, even if it got knocked off. Not a big deal. It's gonna get knocked out by the poison anyway, so we're in a pretty good spot. We get the Pecharunt off of the prize card, which is absolutely huge for us. It's really gonna be very helpful trying to get into this Mega Zygarde EX. 310 hit points is quite a bit, so that Pecharunt really helps out. Same with that Perilous Jungle. Being able to just get that extra damage is huge. So our opponent here just Lunar Cycle, draw some cards, Fighting Gong, get the fighting energies out of the deck and into play. Mega Zygarde EX getting powered up here. Got a fighting energy attached, got an item attached to. I'm not sure what it is because all the new cards and such. Ultra Ball, pitch 2, gonna probably find that Barbarnacle is kind of what I was thinking, but they get a Blood Moon Ursaluna actually put that into play. Barbarnacle is definitely one they're gonna be hunting for, so they can get some more fighting energies in play here. We're gonna get the Pecharunt down. We're gonna retreat into our Salazzle EX. We're gonna hit for 100, get that burn and that poison on, and go into the Pecharunt so we can get an extra 6 damage counter. So we're up to 180 damage. If we had the Perilous Jungle in play, we're getting to 200 damage. So 200 damage potentially with this deck if you kind of have all the right pieces. You could play the Magmortar that also amplifies burn damage if you really wanted to. I didn't really want to play that. I felt like it had too much going on. I needed to involve more stuff, and it was harder to search out because you can't find it with Buddy Buddy Poffin and Nestball rotated, so it's not. Our opponent gets that Barbarnacle though, gonna be able to just put some energies into play, which is gonna be nice. Barbarnacle seems like a pretty cool card in my opinion. Now our opponent here is gonna get punished. They could have retreated, I think, out of that Mega Zygarde, but I'm gonna be able to take the knockout here, getting 3 prize cards, so punishing our opponent absolutely with that. So we're at a 1-6 split. We're set up, we're ready to go. We got 2 Salazzles, we got the Pecharunt, we got a Cornerstone. We literally are ready to go. The only thing really missing at this point is the Mega Camerupt EX, which that's really just in here just for some extra big boost damage into just some other decks you might need, and just to kind of have a bulkier Pokemon to attack with every once in a while. Now we're in a situation where we just win the game. Retreat out of the Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon, Dire Nails for 100, gonna be 130, go into the Pecharunt just for fun of it, and take the knockout. This deck is tons of fun, and I've really been cooking up this deck before rotation even happened, so when rotation came out, I was ready to go. Let's get that outro. Oh, everybody's gonna go over today's video. I'll make sure to put the deck list that I played in today's video in the description below, ready for copy and paste into TCG Live. And let me know what you guys think of this deck as well down in the comments. I think this deck is tons of fun, and I've been kind of cooking it up before rotation even happened, just so I could make this video. This deck is tons of fun, and I really enjoy it a lot, and I think it does kind of have a leg to stand on, especially in the early kind of stages of the meta after rotation. If you guys enjoy the content I've been making stuff on the channel, definitely make sure to leave a like, smash the subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. And of course, I want to give a huge shout out and special thanks to channel members that you see here, and thank you guys. I really appreciate it. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.